Hey y'all, it's Ariel back. Day four. Day four. No YouTube, no manga, no anime. Basically, no forms of like external stimulation. Plus, I threw in like no like sucrose or even like artificial sugars. I will have natural sugars though, so like apple juice, right? So like fructose, I'll have. You know, things like that. Honey. Um, Today is up and down. Um, Last night I was able to sleep okay. Um, I was able to fall asleep okay, but like I woke up with like a pounding headache, and I don't know if I have like bruxism. I mean, I know I have bruxism. I know that I grind my teeth in my sleep, and like I have a bunch of sleep issues and shit that I gotta take care of. Um, but yeah, waking up with like a pretty bad headache. Um, Today was interesting. Um, Slept in until I'd say like 9:45, and like I really woke up at like I'd say like 6 or 7 o'clock in the morning. But then I just kept on, like, I literally created a 15-minute timer on my phone. And then it just went off. And I would just let it repeat every 15 minutes for like 2.5 hours. Um, that's impressive. How, like, dedicated I can be to just, like, sleeping in. But it's not even making me feel any better. If anything, it makes me feel worse to just be waking, to basically be in and out of consciousness for like every 15 minutes for like 2 hours straight. It's not good for me. What's fascinating is I thought that it would be, if I wasn't really had, if I didn't really access to like anything on my phone to keep me in bed, then I would just get up. And I've discovered that that's not the case. And what does that mean about me? Like, what does that say? What does that entail, right? Because I thought that taking away this thing that prolonged my time in bed in the morning, at least I thought it prolonged my time, it definitely did, or at least contributed towards it. To take that away, to have that not then immediately fix the issue is, it's a little bit baffling to me. It's a little bit discouraging, right? Because it's like, you know, part of me wanted to feel like this like exoneration of this weight being lifted off my shoulders, and for me to feel like it unlocked this ability in me to get up early in the morning, and that's not been the case. So it just makes me think like, okay, then what is it? Well, it's probably my sleep habits, right? So meaning that like, I need to use my CPAP. I need to get some kind of mouth guard for my teeth. That way that the quality of my sleep is better, and see if that improves my ability to get up in the morning when upon awakening. I think that's a really big goal of mine. It's like there have been things in my head that I've been kind of like, by the end of this 30 days of doing this, some things that I would like to see would be to be able to wake up, like to be able to get up upon awakening, meaning that like when I wake up, I'm up, and then I get out of bed, and then I don't delay that time of getting up. I think that's a metric that like I really want to hit, being able to do that. I'd say like more often than not. If I'm like, my hope is that by week like 4, and like that's like the last 7 day in the last however many days, let's say 10 days of this challenge, um, I want to be able to like say that for at least 5 of those 10 days, it was very easy for me to get up. Besides that, today was a really chore and intensive day. So like a lot of like doing laundry, folding laundry, um, you know, uh, just errands. Um, didn't really get out of the house. You know, I'm trying to think if I left the house at all today. Even I don't think I left the house at all today. Um, and I feel that. I think that's something that's been more apparent as I have stepped away from these constant stimulations that keep me like docile, in a sense, is that I'm able to really internalize and feel the kind of the intrinsic effects of not going outside. um, which is interesting. When I look back at my childhood and I look back at me growing up, I was never an indoor person. I was very much an outdoor person. I was very social, and it seems like maybe kind of during the pandemic that really I think shifted my psyche, because and I think this might be true for a lot of people, but I can't really speak for other people. I can only speak for myself, where it felt like, oh, being inside all the time, that sucks. And then when during the pandemic, when that hit, and we were inside for like just in our apartments for like days on end, months on end, and you realize, oh, I'm not dying, and then there's almost like I think the scary thing is when there's a certain comfort that sets in. And I think when that set in, that was a little bit scary to experience. Because then it fundamentally, I think, changed something within me. Right? Where it's like, to know that I could be someone that could be a hermit and even find things to enjoy about that. That was a really that was a reality altering experience, right? Because once that's been unlocked, it's very hard to move on from that and go back to who I was before that. And so I'm feeling much more of a recognition of the value of just getting out of the house for anything. My father, of blessed memory, he was someone that could he was constantly out of the house. He was constantly talking to people, going on adventures, speaking with clients. Like, he was a very interactive person. He was incredibly emotionally intelligent, and was the definition of street smart. And he knew how to get to know people. He knew how to make friends in any scenario. He really taught me how to talk to strangers, and that's a skill that I definitely have and have used in the past. It just seems kind of like since the pandemic, I've really dialed back on that muscle, and I realize now that that muscle's weak. I feel a bit more anxious when I'm in public now. I feel more anxious when I tell people my name and I don't really know who they are, and just starting conversations. It's something that I used to do, actually. Is I used to go to, when I was living by myself, I used to just go to the bar and just like sit down at the bar, and whoever was next to me, it could be anyone from like, an old couple to like, a local college student or whatever, like, and just strike up a conversation with them, just get to know them. and like not even like for any reason. I mean, I'm not here to like, get people's numbers or this and that. If it turns into a friendship, wonderful. But it was just the process of just socializing, getting to know someone, getting to hear their story. It's actually even sometimes it's more interesting when you don't walk away with their contact information. You guys meet up again. And this and there's almost like a when you're able to just walk from there, know that like you're probably not going to see this person again, or see them very rarely. It kind of gives you like a telling secrets to a blind man kind of vibe, and that creates a very interesting set of interactions that I really miss. I think I really miss interacting with others in person, interpersonally, and it felt like the world was a lot more adventurous when I was growing up. Like I could just walk around the block, if I'm visiting somewhere, if I'm traveling somewhere. You know. And I've traveled to a lot of different places. Just being able to go somewhere and and just be able to just like walk by and just sit next to a group of people and be like, hey, what's up? I remember doing that a few times where, when my wife and I were dating, or yeah, when my wife and I were dating, I was living in Pennsylvania at the time. And I had a bunch of friends from my co-op that I was doing, and we just went out to this random place, to this mini golf place, and we didn't really know what there was to do in the area. It was a really quiet town, really quiet city, like just like really nothing happened. It really felt like nothing was happening then. I was like, there's no way that this place is really that boring. I have to talk to some locals and just figure it out. And we were at this mini golf place. We went to go get ice cream, and I just saw a bunch of like I looked at a group of people and I was like, those are townies. Like those are guys who have grown up here and they know this place like the back of their hand. So I just walked up to them and I was like, hey, like what's up? And it turns like a nice cool conversation, and it just turned into like, hey, like we just moved here. We don't really know anything about this place. We want to learn more about like what there is to do, and it seems like you guys know it seems like you guys have grown up here and know about this place. And they were really kind. They were really like receptive to it. They're really happy to to like offer help and things like that. And I learned a lot about this stuff to do in the area, and there was a lot. You know, it's kind of hitting me right now how like this kind of reminiscing of experiences that I've had and being able to articulate those and extract lessons and values from them for myself. That's not something that I've done in a long time. I think that um, being numbed out, just watching YouTube, playing video games, watching anime, you know, hours upon hours a day, like 8 hours a day, you kind of lose track of who you are. You kind of lose track of what it is that you know, it kind of betrays like the Delphic saying, idiom, which is I should really say the mission to know thyself. Um, and being able to reminisce about these stories. And I don't know if I'm telling these stories also because I just spoke to my brother and we started telling stories um, about our father who we miss. And, my father passed away 10 years ago and my mother passed away about 6 months ago. And, you know, I don't remember the last time I spoke to my brother for an hour over the phone. Um, Typically, when I would talk on the phone, I would have like I'd be playing a video game. I'd be playing a game on my phone. I'd be, like literally like scrolling, just like watching a YouTube video or like reading manga or something, like while on the phone, just not being present. And this time, I literally like I just hung out on like my dining room floor, laid down next to like my bunny, and just hung out and just talked to my brother. I remember the last time I talked to him for an hour for, and all these stories came out. Someone that I thought that I kind of had this like amnesiatic experience in regards to like recalling stories of my childhood, um, and being able to revive those with my brother was a really meaningful experience. Um, it's very powerful. It's very powerful indeed. There's not really much I can. I don't know. Like I'm looking for the words to describe what that feeling is like. Kind of rediscovering that feeling for the first time and those kinds of interactions for the first time. I think it's a little bit inspiring. It's inspiring. I think that's the right word. To know that I can always tap into that again. I can always just, you know, actually, there's something happening tonight by me that I was debating going to. And I think actually, through the course of this video and talking about this, I think I'm going to go to it. Just to talk to people, socialize. I think it'll be good. I think it'll be very good. So, yeah, I mean, that was kind of a little bit of a rehash of my day, talking to my brother, doing these errands. I've been listening to this podcast, which is literally just it's the podcast of like the local news station of where I live. It's all just like local news and just like, things happening in the area. And it's like, it makes me feel very old, even though I'm really young. I'm only in my mid-20s. But there's something cool about that of like, I'm invested in what's going on here locally where I am. I'm not worried about, of course, my heart is in other places in the world. And, I constantly try to read up and learn about, international conflicts and, geopolitics. And that's always been something that's been deeply fascinating to me. I even spent a good amount of time working in politics in my life. Spent about 4 years of my life working in that realm. Would never do it again. And as honestly, some amazing memories came from that time, but it's not the kind of life that I want to have. But yeah, like just learning about local issues and things that are like relevant to me and my neighbors. It really makes you realize, wow, like I can make a difference, if I vote to, have like the bus fare change or vote against that in any which direction, right? I can put a vote, I can go to those, I don't vote for it, but I can go to those council meetings and like actually like talk to the people that are going to pass those things. Makes a big difference. It makes you realize that there are ways that you can change the world. You just have to be really plugged into wherever you are. And that makes me happy. And, I don't know where I'm going to be in the next year. Like, I don't know where we're going to, my wife and I live a lifestyle that we're just, we might have to move. But overall, like, I know that wherever we go, wherever life takes us, wherever life takes me, takes us. I love my wife. She's awesome. Wherever life takes us, like, being able to make home of it wherever I am and being able to, like, plug in locally. And fun thing I did today, there was a plant in the back of our yard that I was like curious about, and I've been kind of like, you know, I've had this long journey of being interested in plants, where I was originally interested in mycology, and then I gotten really into like mushroom foraging, and then I turned into like foraging for wild plants, and then now it's kind of turned into like an overall interest in botany. You know, I like snapped some pictures of like the fruit, the flowers, the stem, and the bark, and of this plant, and like, you know, I went through iNaturalist, and I went through AI, and I was like, you know, cross validating results and this and that, and like being able to like come to the conclusion, oh, like this is a crepe myrtle, where it's really cool being able to, you know, it's the first time I like was just like, you know, with a tree. I mean, mushrooms I've done, but with a tree is the first time I was able to look at a tree and be like, oh, this is what kind of tree this is. And it's a beautiful tree. It's non-native, but it's not invasive. It seems to, you know, be okay. It's okay to have one in your backyard, but it's not like, you shouldn't be planting forests of them. But it was cool to see that, and to like, now that I've like recognized, like, you know, how the leaves are opposite and alternating on the stems, and what the fruit look like, and what the flowers are beautiful on this plant, and I'm just trying to remember the scientific name for it. It's Lagerstrama indica. Yeah, because it's named after a Swedish guy with the last name Lagerstrom, I think, who was like a financier of like this guy that like was like just like an amateur botanist that just like a bunch of shit is named after him. Um, like anytime you see like a dot L or L dot in the end of something. But now I see it all over my neighborhood. I'm able to see all these. You know, I'm like, I see one over there, and I'm like, whoa. And it's cool, actually. Sometimes they have different colors, so that means that they're a hybrid. And it's cool to be able to like look at the world around me and like interact with it in a way that in which I can identify these things. So I think all in all, I don't know if I classify today as a good day or a bad day, but today was a cool day. Today was a really interesting day. Um, Trying to think what the title of this video would be. I literally never think of like the titles until like I am about to publish it and I have to write the title for the video. So like I have no idea what to name this thing. Hmm. I don't know. I'll have to think about it. But with that being said, I think I'm gonna end this kind of follow up. But yeah, I mean, if any of you guys made it through to the very end, um, which, you know, I am definitely, when I was using YouTube, I was not one of those people. I would, you know, like, it's cool. I can see the analytics on my videos and be like, people only watch this shit for like 2 minutes, and I'm like, you know what? Same. um, so if anyone somehow made it to the very end, good on you. You know, maybe you're one of the people that can use this, you know, who can use YouTube in a healthy way. Um, but yeah, I'll leave it there. Feel free to comment. Um, you know, I'm cool with interacting with you guys. Um, you know, I don't really give a shit if you guys like or subscribe or whatever. I don't really care about that. That's not really what this is about. It's kind of, like I said, like a source of uh, external accountability that I think kind of helps me stay on track. And yeah, you know, but I like talking to people. I like talking to, you know, just learning more about other people and where they come from. And so if anything here resonates with you, or doesn't resonate with you, and you're like, oh, this guy's fucking weird, you know, you can share that too. I don't really care. Um, but yeah, with that being said, I'll see you guys tomorrow.